Okay, let's open our meeting. You're all set, Peter? At 6:33. And first of all, I'll entertain a motion to waive reading of the virtual meeting
So
notice.
moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? In favor, roll call. Dick?
Aye.
Marilyn?
Aye.
Norm? Aye. Okay, first item on the agenda is minutes of July 28th.
I move we accept the minutes for July 28th.
Second, Nat.
Do we have any discussion? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor? Marilyn?
Excuse me. Aye.
Dick?
Aye.
Norm? Aye. And we then have minutes of August 3rd.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes for August 3rd.
I second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Dick?
Aye.
Marilyn?
Aye.
Norm? Aye. Let's see. Next, we have a number of notices from adjacent town. One is a addition and renovation to a restaurant on Main Street in Holden. Anyone have any interest?
No.
Okay. The next is a Board of Appeals for a variance on Causeway Street. Anyone have any interest?
No.
No.
Not a.
Okay. And another Holden Board of Appeals decision for a lot on Parker Avenue in Holden.
No
Any
interest.
No.
No.
And we have a notice from the town of Princeton for a home occupation special permit. Notice of public hearing. And again, any interest?
No.
Okay. Okay, that's kind of the bookkeeping type stuff. Okay, next on the agenda is the A&R lot of Kyle and Bonnie Bessie on the westerly side of Welch Ave. We've previously discussed this, and it seems we're kind of unable to come to a conclusion as to whether this A&R met the requirements for endorsement. We had asked and were granted a continuous on the decision date, and we also requested some additional information regarding the lots. We received that in the form of a conceptual drawn up A&R plan showing the actual location of the houses, I believe septic systems and driveways for each one of the lots. I believe the idea at the time was to, number one, take a look at this, and number two, if we felt necessary, send this together with the original A&R plan off to town council for an opinion from them as to whether this plan meets the criteria for endorsement as an A&R. And with that, we would also have to request an additional extension I'm going to say to our next meeting. So I guess, first of all, I'll entertain a motion to send this information to town council for an opinion on the A&R plan.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Oh, could I, before that goes through, you're not even gonna look at the plan that I showed that all the driveways and houses are accessed from Welch Ave?
Yes, well, it's, it's fairly plain, I guess. First of all, I have a couple of questions. Number one, did you submit a full-size plan of this?
To the town at a full scale,
Yes,
to the town clerk?
you did.
I believe I did.
Okay.
I know
Okay, I'm just thinking, because if we're sending this off to town council,
they want a full-size plan.
they might want to see a full-size plan rather than this. Oh, I got to admit, it's pretty clear, even in the small version.
Can you pop that up on the screen? Does everybody see that?
Okay, Dave, do you have a copy of that additional plan?
Yeah, if you give me a couple of moments to try to find that, we'll try to locate it and put it up if I'm able to access it easily enough, okay?
Because that was a whole discussion why I did this for her is to show that we don't have access that's not absolutely right there in front of each house. So now you're saying the motion to go to town council, that kind of defeated the whole purpose of why I rushed to do this so quickly.
Well, I don't know. I guess I'd a little bit have to disagree with you. I do think that it was, regardless, in our mind to send it to town council. However, I certainly think that at least to me, what you presented here is a substantial argument. Let's put it that way. In favor of it. So while Dave is looking for that, Julian, do you have the authority, and are you willing to, for the Bessies, agree to a further extension?
Let me see if I can call her right now. I thought she was going to be on. So give me a minute before I think we can, but I don't want to. Let me try to call her.
Okay.
I don't see that plan on the computer that I'm currently using. I apologize for that. I think the intent of that plan shows a house, and a house with access from here, and from here.
Yes.
That information was sent to the board by an email, so the board members separately do have that information. So I think the board can understand what is proposed.
It also had the septic systems on it. I remember seeing it, but I couldn't find it today either.
Okay, let's give Julian a couple more minutes to see if he can get a hold of someone over there.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
I have Bonnie on the other line. Let's see if this works.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, go ahead and have town council take a look at that.
Okay.
I'm sure that I didn't think the rules indicated that was an issue. So
Okay, do you,
if you have to do it, you have to do it.
okay, do you agree to an extension on the deadline for action on this?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Okay, any further discussion? I think we do have a motion and a second on this. Anything further? Okay. Then, roll call vote. Dick?
Aye.
Marilyn?
Aye.
Norm? Aye. Okay, that is that one. I'm just hoping, at least, it seems as though we should be able to get an answer back within 2 weeks from town council. This is
Yeah.
shouldn't require a whole lot. Okay.
Did you want to let them know that they're done? Bonnie?
Oh, yeah. Okay, on to our next agenda item, which is Maple Hill Estate Subdivision. And
Is she still on? Peter?
yeah, she was just on the phone, I think.
Oh,
Okay, Maple Hill Estate Subdivision. I believe we did receive a bond estimate for Maple Hill Estates. However, I do not see that bond estimate in the packet. And therefore, I don't feel it would be appropriate for us to approve any dollar amount since we don't have it in front of us.
If I could, the estimate was transmitted to the board by email. I do have an electronic copy, I believe, on this computer. If you'd like to go ahead with that and take a look, let me know.
Okay. Okay, is that good enough for everybody? If he posts it up there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, if you can find it, go ahead.
Hopefully you're seeing the Quinn original, August 7, 2020. Is the board seeing this?
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry to keep asking, but it's hard for me to know exactly what you're seeing from this location. I did get an email from Carl Holtgren after this, where he said there were some adjustments to the amount based upon work that had already been done. I can summarize that if you want, or if the board just wants to hold action on this, that's fine too.
if there is a new one coming up, why don't we hold it?
I think that would be a good idea. Among other things, it's, you know, it's kind of okay to see it on the screen, to be perfectly honest with you. From where I'm seeing, I can't read a single figure on there.
Yeah.
No, it's fine, Norm. I tend to agree. This information came in on August 7th.
Yeah.
We did get a revised estimate on today at 2:04. So I think that's fair game for the board to take some time and look at this.
Okay. The thing is, I do remember, because I believe I did get the email, but I don't recall getting another revised spreadsheet form. It was just a narrative. Am I correct?
I think that's correct,
Yeah,
Mark.
let me take a look at what we have here. I believe that is correct, that it's a new estimate. It has revisions to it, which came in today at 2:04.
Yeah, but not in spreadsheet form.
It's not as a spreadsheet. The changes are in text. If you'd like for me to go back to Quinn Engineering to get a revised spreadsheet, that would be fine.
Yeah, I would rather that. What does everybody else think?
Yes.
Yes.
Will do.
Okay, and I believe that's all we have on Maple Hill Estates.
That's correct. There are no engineering reports received as of this afternoon.
Okay. Okay, next agenda item is Brice Lemon Estates. And I have one item. I received an email from Cleve Blair, which also was forwarded as an email from one of the residents of Brice Lemon. And I just want I just want to make sure that we have a clarification, because in this letter, the author, Carly Mead, in the letter says, among other things, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. Well, maybe I should. Says, my name is Carly Reed. My husband Sean and I reside at 73 Woodside. As you may be aware, the homeowners of Brice Estates have been in constant communication with Rutland Planning Board regarding the detention pond in our subdivision. We do not to be responsible or liable for the detention pond once the road is turned over to the town. It says the planning board has finally agreed that it would be beneficial to no longer have detention ponds as part of the subdivision bylaw. That is not correct.
Right.
The detention ponds are not part of our subdivision bylaw. They're part of stormwater. Okay. And it says they are looking to remove it for future subdivisions. We cannot do that. The only thing that we have at all investigated is changing the ownership of those detention ponds. So I just want this to be on the record, stated correctly, that's what the discussion has been about, not about not about physically removing the detention ponds. And I believe that's all we have regarding Brice Lemon.
Yes, that's correct. There are no engineering reports that were received as of this afternoon.
Okay.
Hi, Norm. This is John from 73 Woodside.
Yes.
In regards to Carly's email, that's the only, I guess, correspondence we've heard from Clee in regards to that. My wife did email him back, and I don't think I see it in that chain of emails in regards to the clarification and stating that it was the ownership and things of that nature that they were looking to remove from the bylaws. And we have yet to hear anything back from him in regards to that. We've reached out numerous times about this and have yet to hear anything back. We've reached out to his secretary and to him directly. Is there anything you guys can do to start that ball rolling towards that, I guess, kind of deadline we're looking at to town meeting and things like that before the road is accepted?
Our town council has advised us that this basically pretty much has to be something that is initiated between you and the subdivision owner. Okay, the owners of the lots in the subdivision and Mr. Blair. So it's, it is nothing, we cannot direct anything to make that sort of thing happen.
Okay. So if it reaches the town meeting and the road gets accepted, then does it come back to you guys, or does it come back to the DPW that we have to try and get in contact with, or the select board, or the town manager, interim town manager?
Okay, I guess, the first thing I just want to, mention for clarification, that particular detention pond services both phase 1 and phase 2 of the subdivision. The only part of the subdivision we're anticipating coming up for acceptance by the town is phase 1. So
I understand that. And
So-
when we get to a certain point, that detention pond, even though it services phase 2, is still accepted by the town as part of phase 1.
no,
It becomes part of the overall infrastructure.
I,
It becomes our responsibility.
I don't believe that detention pond will be considered a part of phase 1.
It's on phase 1 lots and all the phase 1 maps. Just because the one feed around the back and the drainage all feeds in there from phase 2, it's considered phase 1 via the mapping. And it's on the original HOA that when the road for phase 1 becomes accepted, it becomes our responsibility once the road is accepted. Regardless if it's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, as it moves down, it gets accepted. But it's still accepted under phase 1 and becomes our responsibility when that road closes and becomes town property and town maintained, which isn't too far off. I mean, they're dumping a lot of junk fill in there to make that rail trail access between stumps and branches and big boulders right along the detention pond. Once that starts to wash into that detention pond, it's going to become our responsibility to maintain. And we don't really want that. We've gone over this, and it's not too far off that it's going to become our responsibility. And without him answering our emails that we've reached out to him, to his secretary, and got very little response other than, well, we can't take it away. It has to be there. We understand that. We clarified that in another email and haven't heard anything back. I just want to know if a town action or notice or anything can go out to him to make that, hey, they're trying to get a hold of you. Can you answer them? I understand the town council said don't touch it with a 10-foot pole, but we have very little options at this point. It's not far off that it's going to be accepted by the town.
Okay, regarding when that detention pond is going to be accepted, I'd have to do a little bit more research. Since the detention pond is also servicing phase 2, I don't believe they can do a final clean out to make that in a form that's acceptable as a detention pond until they're ready to accept phase 2. That's my belief. I'm not going to say I cannot be wrong on that, but I don't think so. The other thing I would just notice that if for some reason this was going to be part of the acceptance of phase 1, the detention pond will have to be completed. That means that the sloping parts of that detention pond are going to have to be graded, loomed, seeded, and growing.
Correct.
So that there would be no further, wash going into that detention pond.
Okay, that makes sense. And I mean, it's growing and it's stable now. It just hasn't been cleaned and finished to its final grade and design. But it doesn't seem like that's far off the way they're moving along right there. But I'm wrong by the way it's designed and whatnot.
Yeah, I would not consider it stable at this point.
No, question. Should we ask Carl to take a look at that, putting stumps and stuff like that in there? To me, that's...
Might not be a bad idea. I know I was down, I saw the pile of stuff. I know it was definitely screenings, a lot of rocks. I did not notice stumps or any of that sort of thing. I'm not saying there weren't.
Yeah.
I just didn't notice any.
Maybe we should have
Okay.
Dave get a hold of them and
We can certainly do that.
just have it checked out,
Yeah.
because I don't want to see that,
Okay.
the deterioration of the trail and the detention pond in
Right.
years to come.
Yeah.
We don't need that.
So, okay. Dave, you got that?
If I understand correctly, as part of the ordinary responsibilities of Quinn, when they do their reviews and reports of the Brice Lemon subdivision, you'd like for them to make an observation as to the detention pond.
Yes.
Correct.
Hi, this is Maria from 69 Woodside Ave. I am just confused because we've been asking for answers for since March, since this epidemic. And it just seems like we just keep going week after week and there hasn't been any clarification or anything. My concern is when Quinn does come, is there going to be a representative from our neighborhood that's going to also be there? If we're taking it over, I don't feel comfortable not having someone from our community be there.
It is not normal to have any resident necessarily. If some resident happens to be there when our agent is there, that's fine and dandy. But it is not our custom to have anyone there, nor do we even necessarily expect advance notification that they are going to do an inspection.
Okay.
And Norm, I just want to chime in. This is Sean from 73 Woodside. And it's also not known that the ownership was going to be ours with that as well. And now we as residents of this development know that we own that development or that detention pond and that land around it and everything like that. With kids swimming in it on a daily basis and playing in it after being repeatedly told day after day after day that they can't be in it, we're kind of back to square one with, we don't want the liability of that. And if we're going to own it, we want to make sure it's up to par and things like that. So is there a way to get advance notice and be there when the final inspection is done to see that it's clean, up to par, and what the actual...
I guess for, at this point for routine inspections, I simply just don't think that is reasonable. One of the things when Mr. Blair actually applies for acceptance, there will be, I'm going to call it a final inspection. During that final inspection, both our engineers will be there. Normally, at least one planning board, if not more, members would be there. And our DPW superintendent would also be there. At that time, I guess we probably would be able to make it more public knowledge of the time of that inspection.
Norm, I think we lost Sean. I don't see him on the call anymore.
Okay. I didn't know he was there. Coming back. Okay. And I guess Mr. Mead, I don't know if you're still on or not. But I guess.
Yeah, Norm, I'm here. I lost you.
I just, on at least for my part, just a personal note, sometimes we'd like to do something, but we just can't. And this is, I think, really one of those cases. My own personal feeling is it would be far better that the town have the ownership of that detention pond. Unfortunately, at least according to town council, because Mr. Blair has an approved subdivision plan, only he can initiate that change. We cannot do it. We can't threaten him. We can't prod him. You know, we can't withhold anything. We just can't. And, you know, I don't necessarily like it that way, but that's the way it is.
So if the detention pond was to fail, who is ultimately responsible for something like that at this point in time, not getting answers and not moving forward with anything?
Right. Isn't it right now Blair's responsible?
Well, right now,
Yeah.
as long as Blair owns it, he is obviously responsible for it if it should fail. And you know, I guess I don't want to try to predict anything, but if something happened to that detention pond that was going to cause a, let's say, severe or extreme safety hazard or environmental hazard, I honestly feel that, I don't know, either DPW or some other environmental agency would probably step in to take care of it. I don't know that. But it's kind of one of these things where, you know, for something, if some sort of disaster happens, I think it would be almost impossible for just the homeowners to be able to do much with it. So, you know, in that case, as an emergency, you know, it's even, you know, if we do have connected to our public sewer system, we do have some what amount to private sewer lines. And I think if something major happened there, I think our DPW would be out there, you know, if the health of the town was, you know, in danger. But that's just my own personal thoughts. It's not a guarantee.
Okay, I just wanted to chime in, and I guess we'll keep going for answers and trying to get our responses and go from there.
If it may very well be bad advice, but I would simply say keep bugging Mr. Blair.
Okay.
Good luck.
Okay. Do we have anything else on Brice Lemon? Okay, next on the agenda is the notice under Chapter 61A, the follow-up letters to the planning board, which are copies of which are in the packet. The one on Glenwood Place basically states and says, reviewing the above request on July 28th, the planning board has no interest in the above referenced property. As I'm sure everybody is aware, the other one is the 3 lots on Prescott Street. And the letter reads, after reviewing the above request on July 28, 2020, the planning board feels the town may have an interest in the above referenced properties for a potential future waste sewer treatment plant. That's all I have. Do we have anything else on those?
We have someone raising his hand. Mr. Jarvis.
Mr. Jarvie.
Good evening. I know some of you were on the call last night, and I was just hoping for maybe, and I know it's going to be tough, but some sort of direction or advice on how I can better understand what the next 60 days are going to look like for myself and the buyers of these 3 lots. I was taken off guard by this, as you can imagine. I had tried to proactively offer this piece of property to the town on numerous occasions, through Little League, through soccer, through the select board. So this was a surprise to me. This was quite a surprise to me. I had done this over a year ago to hopefully have the 61A process move through quickly, and I didn't expect this one to come up this way. So I'm just curious if the planning board could give me or any of the buyers advice as to what could be done in the near future to decide. I mean, people have moved out of their other houses. So when the planning board approved the lots 2 months ago as A&R lots, and again, this was misrepresentation on I was under the impression at that point that the planning board didn't have any interest in this property. So one question is, did anything change in the last 8 weeks from when they were approved from, they were approved lots, all signed. There was no notice or recommendation at that point, and nobody's ever contacted me as the owner of say, hey, this is something we're curious about. I didn't know if there was something that changed in the last 8 weeks, or if this was just a request that you guys wanted to look at. And after seeing the study that was done, hearing the DPW last night, the director of the DPW, there's no real feasibility to this. Is it possible to let the select board know that so that we can move forward in the houses?
As I see it, the select board at this point, I feel, is acting as an investigative authority. They have received the request. They have requested comments from town boards. They received most of them. They have also received, I believe at this point, some other information. I believe it is now up to the select board, if they wish to discuss I'll call it, for lack of a better word, the evidence that they have regarding this, either themselves or jointly with the planning board or with all of the boards. I would say that would be a very, very possible path. The ultimate decision is theirs.
Fully understand, yeah.
So, in terms of in terms of timing, I don't think there's anybody that wants to drag this out any longer than is necessary. But by the same token, I don't believe anyone has any stomach for trying to take any kind of shortcuts either.
Oh, it was never I guess the hardest thing for me to comprehend as the owner of the property was that a study was done 8 years ago and it was not feasible. Don't do it. Stay away from it. The director of our DPW stated last night, not feasible, don't do it, not part of the plan. With those two comments right there, why? I guess I understand where you're coming from, Chairman, and I respect that, and I respect the planning board, and I respect Mr. Williams. I understand why you do what you do, and I've been a member of this town my whole entire life, and I would want nothing more than what's best for the town. But I guess for me, that site is not possible. DCR wouldn't allow it. There's no way that you could ever put a sewer treatment facility on that. And now the select board could take another 60 days to make their decision, just because they can. And a letter, and I didn't know if you knew all that information before this letter was written, and if that information was in the hands of the planning board prior, would this letter still have been written?
We had no knowledge of that.
So 8 years ago, a study was done on this. A feasibility study was done. There were no members on the board 8 years ago. I guess I was just, and again, I'm just with that now information. The feasibility study, we already paid money, can't happen on this property. The director of RTB DPW has already stated cannot happen on this property. So at that point, could there be a motion on the floor to write another letter with just those two facts right there to state that the planning board has done some of their own research and we have realized that it's not a feasible spot for a sewer treatment facility?
Mr. Jarvie, I've handed a piece of information over that I had. What was done in the past was looking at how the old way of doing a sewer treatment plant, and what I passed on was a newer way, which is altogether different, and also waiting for, and this only happened within weeks, a couple of weeks now, that I come up with. We're just trying to think 40 to 50 years ahead. Is this the best location for this? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. And that's why I just threw it out there, period. But you cannot think of it the old-fashioned way. It's got to be the newer way. And it's a lot less space and different. So that's why I've already handed off the information I had to one of the selectmen for them to look at it and let him make up his mind. Let them make up their mind. It's their job.
Yeah.
I understand that. I'm not trying to dispute any of that, you know, nor would I ever. I'm just having a hard time understanding the process. And I tried to talk last night about it and I wasn't allowed to. And I still don't understand how the process happens where the planning board allows for approving lots. And then, you know, if you knew that if you approve the lots, I mean, just to have those Mylars, you guys know that cost me like, what, $7,000. So the amount of money, and I'm not disputing any of this action. I'm hoping that my voice today, moving forward, can change this for other people, because the process that I've been put through and these three buyers have been put through shouldn't happen this way. It's not right that we can pay money to engineering firms. Elbag Engineering has already marked the floors for the sewer. We've already put the town's funds. The director of the DPW has put hours into this already for a sewer and water hookup. So there's already been an enormous amount of money put into this as house lots. I started the process a year ago. And then for it to come to this point and now say, well, maybe we could put a sewer treatment facility in there. It was hard for me to understand how that can happen. And then when the select board talks about it, there was 50 people on the call last night and there was just no information. And that was very frustrating for me. And I think it was frustrating for some of the other townspeople to have a request with no information to back it up. And that it's tough for townspeople to not know what's going on when they're on a call asking questions and nobody's able to answer any questions.
Well, Mr. Jarvie, one of the other things I've been asked town clerk to try to maybe have a discussion in the town hall is that when somebody is pulling 61A out and changing, that the Board of Assessors should be notifying the select board. And that's what blew me, because normally that's what happens. It goes to the selectmen first, not to the planning board, but to the selectmen. And you know, things would have been a little bit different.
That's not how I understood it, to be honest with you. I was it had to go in the other way.
That's the way it had been in the past, and we need to get back to it again.
And maybe that is the best way to do it. I mean, I also had, I'm not sure where to move forward with this, with the people that are, you know, working towards building the homes. And if it's in the hands of the select board at this time, the next week's meeting, my concern is, and maybe you saw it firsthand last night, I tried to get the chairman of the select board, even the director of the DPW was trying to talk and he interrupted him 4 times. He didn't want the information. He didn't want to hear.
Can I,
so
through the chair, Norm, can you hear me?
Yes.
This is Mitch for City.
Yep.
Hi, Kevin.
I'm glad you're on.
Yes. I want to just clear up a couple things that I think you're misrepresenting. I think it's a little unfair. To say that you weren't given the opportunity to speak or seek clarification on the process last night's a little bit untrue. I think you had a total of 30 minutes speaking time during that meeting.
I didn't say that.
Now, we're talking about, Kevin, we're talking about a state process here. And I understand that you're frustrated that you have buyers, okay? Both you and the buyers knew the process existed on this property. And to say that you tried to go through this a year ago for a year, this is an entirely different legal process that was triggered by the disbursement of these properties than going informally to other people, department heads, different boards.
It wasn't informally.
Trying to.
I'm sorry. I didn't informally go to other people. Can you please?
And it's a little bit unfair to say that you tried to talk to the chair about this last night, because I am the chair.
I did try to.
And that we gave you ample time, Kevin, to speak last night. And again, the board's responsibility is to do our due legal diligence. It is not to do any favors for any particular person as the process comes through.
I'm not. Why are you putting all these words into my mouth, sir?
Kevin, I'm just trying again, and I did not. There was no one that cut off.
You're putting a lot of words in my mouth. You're twisting a lot of words, sir.
Kevin, no one tried to cut off the DPW director last night. All right, the item was not on the agenda. We're not there to discuss the merits of a water sewer treatment plant. We're there to discuss the 61A legal process. When we were here from all of the boards.
Wouldn't, as part of your job as the chairman of the select board of the town of Rutland, to gather information on said 61A, when the director of the DPW tried to speak and give you his opinion, you interrupted him 3 times, Mitch. In my opinion, you didn't want to hear what he had to say last night.
Kevin,
so my question is, how long does it take, and what is the process for you to have a conversation with the director of the DPW? Because if you talked about it last night, maybe that'd be one box checked off. I'm not asking for
the legal process.
What is the right? So
the legal process gives the town 120 days to deal with this. It's a state process. Again, it's well documented. Both you and your buyers knew about it.
Absolutely, you've said this 15 times now, but nobody's answering my questions.
That's the answer to your question, Kevin.
You've interrupted this meeting with the chairman of the planning board. I'm curious.
No, sir, I'm sitting in this meeting watching just as you are.
Right. So when I've asked these questions, you're denying that you interrupted the director of the DPW last night. And I'm sorry, that's not true. You're putting words into my mouth saying that I'm asking for favors, and I'm not.
I didn't say you're asking for favors, Kevin. I said the process is a process that takes the same time for everyone in every circumstance. Okay.
So did you receive, in every 61A that have come through your board, you've received letters from every single board?
That's correct.
Every single time. So there's been last week or the week before, there was no 61A applications that came across your board that you had not received a letter from every single other board?
I believe when I was not chair, the 61A application that came through for Glenwood Place, we received notification from every board except Planning Board, which was meeting the following day. We received a letter from Planning Board the following day.
But it was voted on without a letter.
Again, I was not part of that meeting. So I think it was vote pending or something like that on Planning Board, or it was not, but either way, Planning Board was not happy about it. It's not the custom that the board takes. It's the same process. The reason why 61A exists is the same process for everyone. So, and I think Norm can speak to that. I just feel like when the boards and our employees are kind of being, thrown into the mix here and mentioned about things that were or were not said last night, I'm sorry, but we have to be on the same page as a community. We're all working towards the same goal, Kevin. It's
Mitch, it's
a little bit unfair.
You know what the problem is? We're going to agree to disagree, because that's why I came in front of your board a year ago, and I didn't do it backhanded. I went right in front of a meeting and said, I have a 9-acre piece of property I would love the town to buy. So I have done all of this due diligence. So my only question now is, how do we stop this from happening in the future, and what can be done, if anything, to get you the information you need to make your decision on these 3 pieces of property? That's all I was asking last night. And in my opinion, Mitch, you didn't let me get to that. What can I do in the next 2 weeks proactively? And you wouldn't give me any answers. And I don't feel that I'll get any tonight. So another 2 weeks will go by, and then another 2 weeks will go by. What other information does the Board of Selectmen need to find out what needs to get done if this is a feasible site. Is there anything that I can do to help that process?
I can't speak on behalf of the Board of Selectmen. I can only speak on behalf of myself. And the only reason why I'm in this meeting is to listen. And I know that I felt like some of the things that you said were misrepresentations of what occurred last night. So I appreciate it. This is a process, Kevin. There's nothing we can do to expedite the process to work around go-arounds or anything like that. And in terms of, I can't answer that question about preventing this in the future. All that I know is that it's a state process that the town is legally required to go through. And I think Norm can probably speak to that as well in his role as chair, because he deals with these issues a lot more than we do. But again, this is not something that the town made up.
I'm not saying, I get it. It's a process, Mitch. What can be done, or what is the next step in your process? Can you tell me what is the next step in the select board's process in this wastewater treatment facility?
So far as the letters, we have not received all the letters from the different boards. The town hasn't received the letters from the different boards, Kevin.
But you make decisions on other ones without letters, so why can't you make a decision on mine without letters? Why are other people getting treated differently than I am, Mitch? I'd like to know that.
Kevin, I can't speak to a board decision that was made without my presence. Again, I'm speaking on behalf of myself.
But if you're the chairman of the select board, could you say, I'll look into that, Kevin, and I'll get back to you. You're the chairman of the select board. Can you find out why other people can have their land taken out of 61A without letters from every department, but I can't? I'm asking you, can you find that answer for me, please?
I certainly can provide you with whatever information that I have, Kevin. Thank you.
That would be fantastic. And I would just like to say that if other people can get it done without letters from every board, then why should I be treated any differently?
A study should be done.
I guess the only thing I'm just going to kind of wrap this whole thing up with what I think I was almost in the process of saying is that obviously the select board is collecting information in bits and pieces, and they have to look at that information. They, I guess, can certainly decide to discuss, deliberate either by themselves or in conjunction with other boards and commissions and so forth, and then ultimately reach their decision. The only thing, and again, I can't necessarily speak for the select board, but I don't picture that any of them want this process to go on any longer than it has to. So I'm gonna say that's about it. Okay, hearing nothing further. Next agenda item is Pommogussett Road estate lot decision, which does need to be signed. We have approved the special permit. However, this is now the actual document that we have in front of us. It is in your planning board packet. I know the special permit requires a 4/5 vote, which we have already taken. I don't believe, but Dave, you're going to have to correct me. Do we need a vote at all just to sign it, or does it need a 4/5 vote to sign it?
No, a vote is not needed to sign it. We just brought this to the board's attention at this point because it was an outstanding item. If the board members could come in and sign it tomorrow at the earliest, that would be great. I believe the board's custom, correct me if I'm wrong, Norm, is that you look for 4 signatures out of the 5.
Okay. Is there anything special about the signature page that I have, let's say from downloading the packet, that is different from the signature page that you would have?
You have the document. The document is the same with the version that you have
Yes.
as compared to the master copy.
Right. What I'm just saying is that we could get 2 of our signatures right here tonight. I could deliver those 2 signatures to you tomorrow at the planning board office.
Yes, I think you have a good idea there. Thank you.
Okay. So I guess Dick and I will sign this tonight. Okay. Oh, just one other thing. This particular decision, I believe, Dave, and you can correct me if I am wrong. We were kind of shortchanged one set of mailing address labels for notifying the abutters of the decision. And what is your recommendation regarding getting those other set of labels?
Right, because of the timeliness of this matter, this decision has to be signed as soon as possible. We've decided that the town, if need be, will take care of the mailing and then invoice the applicant.
Okay. Is that agreeable to everybody?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Marilyn?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Excuse me, Norm.
Yes.
Can stop in and sign that late morning, early afternoon. We have a doctor's appointment in Worcester in the morning, but I could stop and sign that on the way home.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay. Last item on our agenda, which I asked Dave to put this on. We have talked ad nauseum about having a just plain business meeting. And well, somewhere along the line, I do think, yes, it should happen, hopefully soon. Kind of really necessary that we do have all members present for that. But I almost have to kind of wonder if maybe one of the problems of us really getting going on a business meeting is that we have talked about a lot of general things that we probably need to do. And it might spur us a little bit better if we would come up with some suggestions of some very specific individual, and I'm going to say, I don't want to call them little, but not all encompassing types of subjects, something that, we can do, get done with, and then move on. So where we only have 3 people here, certainly if anybody has any particular things right now, certainly I'd entertain getting those down as part of a list. To give an example, and this is one of my favorites, and I know I brought it up a couple of times, is getting some language into our subdivision regulations regarding the placement of bounds on individual lots, be it in a subdivision, be it an A&R, or what. And I guess just from a personal point of view, I find it hard to believe, but I am sure there are just tons of people that are buying houses in subdivisions and they don't even really know where their property lines are because there's no requirement for anything to mark those property lines.
Correct.
And I'd like to take a look at what some other towns have for requirements. And like I say, that's kind of a little narrow little thing that shouldn't be overwhelming for us to handle. So those are the kinds of things that I'm talking about. Not something as general as let's review our subdivision regulations, which
Right.
Which eventually we should be going through them, but right at the
Yes.
moment. I agree with you, especially the bounds things. I've heard so many people talk about after they bought a piece of property, try to find their bounds and can't. They have to hire a surveyor to come out, and it's altogether different than what they were told or something like that. And so therefore, I feel that we should have a new reg on that, definitely.
So that's one, but I'd like to get some ideas from everybody. And, you know, if you happen to have something right now, that's fine. But at the very, very least, think about it.
I'll do that. I mean, actually, I had a list I did a long time ago, but I have no idea what I've got to go back and find a page and what it was all about.
Okay.
But for our next meeting, I will bring up a list.
Okay.
But it would be very nice, Norm, maybe to get started with that. If Dave has a moment that he can do that, let's try to give it a boost. Let's give it a kick and get started with it, please.
My guess is Quinn Engineering would probably have some very good information regarding that from other towns.
Excellent idea.
You know, that's that's why I don't think that would be all that hard.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just one. So, well, is there anything else to come before this meeting?
Yes, this is Julian. I have a question.
Yes.
I submitted a Form A for Ted Mahan on Campbell Street. And I was just wondering, it's at the town clerk's. It was submitted yesterday. I don't know what the process is on when I can expect this to go before you guys. I was hoping it'd go today, but I emailed everything. I hand carried it, got it to the town clerk. There's a check. Everything's there. It's one lot on Campbell Street. Got 200 feet of frontage and close to 3 acres of land. And what is the process now? What can I tell Ted tomorrow when I say, no, it didn't even get discussed yesterday?
Okay. Dave, are you aware of this?
Yes, I am. This item came in after the agenda closed last Thursday. It will be taken at the next meeting within the 21 days. That would be a meeting of August 25th or so.
Okay. August 25th?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anything else for this meeting?
None from me.
No. Okay. Okay, then I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote. Dick?
Aye.
Marilyn?
Aye.
Is Sean there? No. And Norm? Aye.
36.
We are.
Baker, you got that?